Good morning. We come to our final Easter reflection for Oak Tree Church this morning, reflecting on the resurrection of Easter Sunday. I'd love to read to you from Matthew 28. Dawn was breaking on the first day of the week. The Sabbath was over. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary had come to look at the tomb, when suddenly there was a great earthquake. An angel of the Lord came down from heaven. He came to the stone, rolled it away, and sat on top of it. Looking at him was like looking at lightning, and his clothes were white like snow. The guards trembled with terror at him and became like corpses themselves. "Don't be afraid," said the angel to the women. "I know you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He isn't here. He has been raised as he said he would be. Come and see the place where he was lying, and then go at once and tell the disciples that he's been raised from the dead, and that he is going on ahead of you to Galilee. That's where you'll see him. There, I've told you." The women scurried off quickly away from the tomb in a mixture of terror and great delight, and went to tell his disciples. Suddenly there was Jesus himself. He met them and said, "Greetings." They came up to him and took hold of his feet, prostrating themselves in front of him. "Don't be afraid," said Jesus to them. "Go and tell my brothers that they should go to Galilee. Tell them they'll see me there." As a child, I was always at church. My mum was a very strong Christian, and we would go to Sunday school every week and church once a month in rural New Zealand. I knew all of the prayers. I knew the liturgy. I could tell you when it was going to get boring with the sermon. I could tell you what the prayer of humble access, I may not have called it that, was like. But it was just lip service. I heard all the stories, and I thought of them as stories like in my books at home. And then one day, I went on a Pathfinder camp, age 13. And for a whole week, we talked about and listened to and had fun with the idea of the gospel story. And I can remember after one meal, sitting around the table when it had all finished, everyone else was sort of trooping out. And this one leader, I'll never forget, he was called Simon, and he sat with a group of about 8 of us, and he told the Easter story. He talked about the cross and the way the nails went through Jesus' hands. He talked about what God had given up for us. And then he talked about the resurrection, the way that death was beaten, the way that there was a celebration and excitement in it, and that it began with the women. I can remember a moment of kind of blinding revelation, this idea that everything I had known in my head was true. I can remember the phrase going through my head, "It's all true." And in that moment, I knew that this was something that was going to be part of my life for the whole of my life. I wonder what happened for those women as they arrived at the tomb, thinking that Jesus' body would still be there, that they would anoint it with oils and with herbs, as they would any other body. And yet they saw an angel, and the angel told them that Jesus had risen from the dead. It's all true. Everything that they had heard that Jesus had said, everything that he had pointed towards, was true. I love that phrase in the reading. It says they looked with terror and great delight. I kind of remember that feeling of, oh my gosh, it's true. This Easter Sunday, as we think about the resurrection, as we think about what God has done for us in giving up his Son and raising him to new life, that we might be saved through him, I pray for you and for me that we would have a new revelation of it's all true. And the way that we live our lives based on that truth matters. God is calling us into that truth. And may I wish you the very, very happiest of Easters this Sunday.